Hi, this is Trinesha Cottrell, and today I wanted to talk about in the meantime. So, what made me want to talk about in the meantime is I was listening to a sermon earlier today, and it was called In the Hall or something like that. And the pastor was preaching about the waiting season. He was preaching about, different things that we're doing and how sometimes we just don't appreciate the journey while we are on it. And I could call this maybe the journey or something like that. So it might change, but but I don't know if there's another video that says the journey, and I try not to rename them the same thing. Sometimes it happens just because it's still something else that is missing, something else that I didn't say in the first video or something else like that. And as I'm sitting there listening to the sermon, it really made me think about how we really don't appreciate what we're doing in the meantime. Sometimes we appreciate, some of us like are now appreciating our single season. So we are taking advantage of it. We're going on trips by ourselves. We're going on girls' trips. We are doing stuff for ourselves. We're taking classes and stuff like that. And yes, we are like using that time period in a good way, and we are utilizing our time being alone. And if we're in relationships, maybe we're thankful that we're in a relationship. We are really not taking it for granted. We're really doing the things that we need to do. But when you're in a waiting season, when you are that fine line in between being happily single and happy in a relationship or a marriage or whatever else, you really have this moment like where God's not preparing you for, he's preparing you for things, but he doesn't have you in a place where you're ready for whatever it is yet. And so, we all got that time when we're single and we're like, yes, single, I'm single. And, you get all hyped up and you just feel good. Then you have that moment when you get in a relationship and you say, boot up, or whatever your like colloquialism is that you're using. And and then you get in the in between stage, that moment when you have a moment of loneliness. That moment when God is prepping you for something and you're waiting for his word. You're waiting for instruction while you're along the way before he puts you in a different position. And the pastor used it and gave this type of example. He said that before, when God was born, of course, we know about the birth of Jesus, and then we know about his death and the resurrection. But in between, along the way, his journey was the most important part of his story. Him helping and performing miracles and the people that he helped, the things that he did in between the beginning and the end was everything, you know? And sometimes when we are in this in between stage, whether we're waiting for a relationship or we are, going through whatever it is that we're going through, we forget how many people we can impact along the way. We forget how many people we can encourage, how many things we can change, how many things we could do for other people while we're serving, how many things that we can do before we get to the finish line, or what we intend is our idea of success, or what we intend is our idea of where we would like to be in life, or if like your goal is to be married and have kids. Once you get married and have kids, then what? Did you appreciate the time that you had before you had kids? Did you really spend time with your spouse and really get to know them? Did you really, and I'm not saying it like I'm trying to be like a relationship coach or anything like that. I'm just saying, are you really utilizing your time for the benefit of the kingdom? Are you serving in your purpose? Are you serving other people? Or are you just serving yourself? Because it's nothing wrong with doing something for yourself every once in a while, just to make sure that you are pouring into yourself so you can pour into other people. But don't be so selfish that you forget that other people matter as well, that you forget to help others, that you think, okay, well, I'm good. They got to get it like I got it. Like, I understand you saying that, but you didn't get it by yourself. God gave that to you. People gave you opportunities at different jobs because God opened that door for you. You didn't just all of a sudden show up and they just gave it to you just because. They gave it to you because God opened the door for you, or the adversary wanted you to get so successful that he can just drop you right there, like, and allow you to fall flat on your face. But regardless, are you helping somebody along the way? It's funny because while I'm in the single season, while I'm in my in between stage, I really just I have my moments where I get so like the adversary will say something to me to try to make me feel like I'm at lack of something or I'm missing out on something. And then I remember God is a God that he can't lie. And while I'm so focused on the finish line, how about I focus on where I am right now so I can help everybody I can? Because who knows when my last day is? Who knows how many people I will be able to influence, affect, or speak life into or serve in whatever way it is that I need to serve. They might need me a certain place that I need to be, and it might not be glamorous. I might be at a soup kitchen or something. I'm not saying like that's not glamorous. I'm just saying like you don't get a lot of people aren't like, "Oh, that's so amazing." They're just like, "Okay," or they think you're doing it for a reason. But as long as you do it with the purest of intentions and you do it and you're helping somebody else, that's the best that you can do. I really believe that that's intentionality. And sometimes it gets hard in the in between stage because you really do want to feel like you're a lack of something. But you're not a lack of anything. God is the God of abundance. He will provide all of your needs for those that are in the purpose of the kingdom. And I was listening to another sermon earlier, and it really stood out to me because I wasn't even thinking about it this way. But it said, "Seek the kingdom of God and all of its righteousness." And the pastor said, righteousness meaning, are you in right standing with God? And I had to take a moment and really think about some of the actions that I've made in my past. I had to really do some self-reflection. I had to really think of, am I doing everything I can to be pleasing to God? Or am I doing things because it would be pleasing to me? Am I doing this because it's something that I want? And there's been times in the past that I've wanted things and I wanted them so badly and I just was like, well, you know how it is when you ask God a question like, God, can I do this or is this person for me or whatever else? And you ask it and you want the answer to be something else. And then God wants to tell you something else, but your mind is so set on what you want that you don't hear God. That's how I was at one point. That's how I felt at one point. And I'm not like trying to hurt anybody that said anything like that or like make them feel badly, but really think about what it is that you want and what it is that God wants. Really think about, don't just think about it in a way that you're thinking, oh, I want this so badly. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to get. Think about it like, is God giving me the approval for whatever it is, this person, place, or thing? Before I accept this position, am I checking with God to make sure that this is his intent for me? Because the funny thing is, you could take a position making whatever your key goal is, like let's say it's 60,000, 100,000, it's a million, whatever it is, and you take this job thinking, oh yeah, I've never made this much money. You don't know what God could do in your life. That 60, 100 million dollars, whatever it is, could be nothing compared to what God is going to do in your life. And it's not just all about money, but since we're using money as an example, you could take that job thinking that, oh, this is the most money I've ever made. And God could bless you with your business, with another position that was opening, with whatever it is that God intends you to be in. And you could be a billionaire. You thought that was a lot of money. But what God can do is so much more than anything that you could ever ask, think, or imagine. You just, it's so funny because when I think about stories like this, I think about Tyler Perry's story. And I'm only saying it because that's what crossed my mind when I thought about trading something for something else because you think this is as good as it gets. His story, if you haven't heard it, you should hear it. But what happened was he was doing plays and stuff and he was sleeping in his car. He was homeless and he really was thinking about taking this job he was going to give up on doing plays because he just couldn't seem like he would get someone to like contribute here and there or something like that, but he really just wasn't making money like that. And he he goes and he tells God he wants to quit and he's just gonna stop doing it. And God told him to quit his job. He's like, nobody quit your job. I always say that too because I feel like when you say stuff like that, people just take it and run with it, even though God might need them in the position that they're in so they can help other people in that business, so they could be the Christ like that people see within that job. Because somebody who's having a hard time might need you as that voice of inspiration. Might need you as that laugh because that might be the only time they get to laugh during the day when they're at work with you. When they're at home, they might be under so much stress, so much tension, feeling so badly about themselves. You might be the only light, the only piece of God that they see that day. So just really think about that before you just jump to whatever it is that you want to do. Make sure it's what God intends for you to do. So back to the story. So then, he really was thinking, okay, well, I'm just gonna quit. I'm gonna go take this job that my mom was telling me as I think it was like a telephone operator or something like that, and it would be making all like decent money. And he was like, yeah, he'd make, I think it was like 50,000, or I don't know what the amount was, but it was whatever it was. He thought that was gonna be decent money. And then you look at him now, and he's got a whole production studio, everything, probably touching multi millions, maybe. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but that that compared to 50,000, like, look at what God can do in your life. That's God. There's no other way to explain it. When you see something miraculous happen like that, you know that God was in it, especially when you have to step out on faith, especially when you stay focused on God and God just comes through the way that He always does. It's things like that that really make me think of when I think about being, I know this is going to sound so corny, but when I think about being in a relationship, when I think about being at a job, whatever it is that I'm doing, I always intend to seek God first, because I don't know what He would intend for me to do. Yes, I have my business, but no, I'm still going to work my job until God says, "Listen, this is what I need you to do. I need you to step right into faith. I need you to do this." And it's going to be scary. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be scary. But until God says that, I need to be Christ-like in the position that I'm at my job. I need to be that positivity. I need to be walking like Christ, talking like Christ. I need to be making sure that I'm intentional with my life. I need to make sure I'm a good worker. I need to make sure that I am the type of person, the type of woman that God created me to be in every area of my life, no matter where I'm going. When people talk to me, when people say things to me, and this is going to sound really like it doesn't matter at all, but I'm only saying this because I think it's important, no matter what area of your life you're in, to make sure that you're being intentional, to make sure that you're treating people the way that you would want to be treated. And so, like, I'll have people come up and they'll say something to me, or like guys will hit on me that I might not be interested in, or I might be interested in, whatever it is. But let's say it's a guy that I'm not interested in, and it could just be like I have a feeling, or like my intuition is like, no, run, girl, run, and because usually if like someone looks decent, or I don't feel like I have to coyote ugly it, then I'm good, you know. So, and I'm not saying that to like make anybody feel badly. I feel like there's nobody that is the U word. I'm just using that as a reference because if you know what that means, that's why I used it in that example. Not because any of God's children is not beautiful. Every person of God, every person that God has created is beautiful in their own way. And so I just like, if it's something like that, I even go, oh yeah, thank you, this and that. And like, I'll still be really nice and polite. And I don't go like, oh my gosh, I would like, I don't treat people like that because I would never want to be treated like that. I do not want someone to treat me like a piece of trash, or treat me like the scum of the earth, or, like, just I don't want any person to treat me like that, so I treat people the way I want to be treated. I don't care if I am or am not interested. I still treat people with kindness, decency, and respect. To the best of my ability. Am I always perfect? No. But, and I mean, am I always perfect? Because sometimes I say the wrong thing, but I don't mean to say the wrong thing. Like, if it's a person that I like, I might say something really stupid. And I don't mean that to demean myself. I'm just saying, like, I'll say something and then I think about it. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. Like, I know that I meant it in a joking way and I didn't mean it in a bad way at all. But I could see how someone would take it the wrong way. It's like one of those things. It's not like I say something really cruel or anything like that. It's just I say something normal and it just gets taken the wrong way sometimes. It usually only happens with like maybe one person or something, but for the most part, people know that I'm just joking. And I don't like joke at anyone's expense. I usually just am like super blunt and honest and straightforward. And when I say it, I say it and I mean it, but I don't mean it in like a it's the end of the world kind of thing. I mean it in a like a, oh yeah, this is how I feel, this is what it is. And sometimes it can come off a little abrasive just because I like to be honest, but I'm not trying to do it with the intent of hurting anyone, if that makes any sense. And so, so whenever I'm doing anything, I try to make sure that I'm doing it with the best of intentions, that I'm treating people the right way, and that I am going about my life in the way that God would intend me to. So if God is saying, hey, I need you to be with this person because it'll benefit the kingdom, I'll say, okay, God, you know what I want and desire. You know what I like. So just as long as it's not something satanic, or it's not something that's like, something crazy like that, which God would not send something like that to me anyways, then I'm good. So there's some things that I might want. And if God says no, or he doesn't give me an answer, then I just have to keep moving on with my life. Is it hard? Absolutely. Especially when you want it. It's real hard, but I know I have to do the right thing, and I can't allow anything to come between me and my relationship with God. I can't just say, "Oh yeah, let me just go ahead and be with this person anyways," and then God's like his hand isn't in it. I don't want anything with God's hand not in it. I don't want to be at a job where God isn't there with me, because I don't know what could happen to me at that job. I don't want to be in my business if God's hand wasn't in it. If God's hand wasn't in me writing my book, I would not write it at all. If God's hand is not in any relationship that I get into, I don't want that relationship at all, because it's something about the grace of God. It's something about God being present in your relationships that makes the impossible possible. He makes those things where people are like, "How did you get in a relationship like this?" or "Why does that person treat you so good?" Because we're both focused on God. When you're not just focused on what you selfishly want, what's most beneficial for you, but what's most beneficial for the kingdom, it's really a lot easier to respect the other person, to honor them, and to treat them the way that God would want you to treat a human being. You know, because sometimes we get so caught up on the world, or caught up on comparison, that we try to want someone to be like somebody else, but that person is going to be like who they are. So it is so important to just make sure that you're focused on God. I know it's not always easy. I have moments of weakness. I really do. And it gets difficult sometimes. It really, really does. And I have to pray. I have to do everything I can. Sometimes I fall short. And I'm just like, God, I need you. Like, I'm not just going to give up on myself and say, oh, well, I messed up. Let me just go back to being the old me, or do the things that I used to do. No, I have to stay focused. I have to make sure that I'm intentional, and that no matter what mistakes I make, no matter when I fall short, no matter how I fall short, that God is number one. That the first person I go to, I don't just call a bunch of people and say, oh, I messed up this way. I say, God, I know I messed up. I know I don't know why I did this. Sometimes I really don't even know why I did it. It's like an unintentional thing, or it could be something where it just feels like spiritually or something. I don't know. Like sometimes I'll be doing something and I'll be content, and then I'll feel like this nudge, like, do it now. And I'll be like, hold up a second. And then after I do it, I'm like, that was not God. God would not rush me to do something. He wouldn't make me feel like anything was a scarcity thing. And so I had to kind of check myself and be like, okay. And some of the stuff that God's hand is in, the adversary will try to like destroy it before it gets started, or he'll try to like step in and do things that will manipulate the situation so it can make it unrectifiable. And I will go and I'll be doing stuff, and I'll be like, oh, I messed up this chance. And then the adversary, I could just in my mind picture him just smiling like, ha ha ha, you know. But God's the type of God that will spin the block for you. So you don't have to worry about missing out on an opportunity, missing out on a guy, missing out on a place, missing out on anything. Because even though you might have missed the opportunity and you know it's God, God will spin the block. He'll bring it right back around so the opportunity doesn't miss you. And so, in conclusion, because I don't want this to be long and I got to work out and it's late. It's so late. Oh my gosh. But when it comes to your journey, when it comes to whatever season it is that you're in, enjoy where you are right now. Don't focus so much on being single. Don't focus so much on being in a relationship. Like, yes, take advantage of the fact that you're in a relationship, take advantage of the fact that you're single, but also enjoy the time in between. Enjoy that time where God is prepping you for something, where He's growing you, where you're learning things in God, where you're reading your Bible more, where you're spending the most time with God. And if you aren't spending time with God now, God is not going to bless you with somebody else so you can spend even less time with Him. He's going to want you to already have a relationship built with Him so that when He brings another person in, you and the other person can be focused on God first. That's what I want. I want God to be at the center of our relationship, for Him to be number one in both of our lives. And everything else just falls into place because it's supposed to be exactly where it is. Like I don't want somebody that's like either idolizing me or that is kind of sort of religious. Like I don't want any of that. I just want God. So whoever it is, if they're not into God, they can't be into me. Oh my goodness. But yes, I need to definitely go work out because it's getting real late. I'm getting tired already and everything. The day just went by so fast. I went to do something for a family member after work, and then there was this really bad accident on the way home, and it's just like, and if I didn't stop, I would have been probably right there. I know I always tell that story, and I only say that because I really feel like, I don't know, but God is so good. He really is. He is amazing. I I said no to something that I wanted to say yes to, but God wasn't in the other day. And I really don't know how I found the strength to do it but God. I really don't know. Like if God wasn't in my life, I probably would have been too weak to say no. But because God is in my life, He gave me this strength out of nowhere where I didn't even know I had it in me, you know? So just enjoy the journey and allow God to use you so that you can be a blessing to somebody else. Because I don't know about you, but when I help other people, it kind of fills me up too. It allows me to feel like I'm if I'm serving somebody or I'm doing something for somebody and I see them smile or they start to feel like more confident or they feel better about themselves, it just makes me feel good. It makes me feel like this is what I'm supposed to where I'm supposed to be. This is exactly where I want to be in life. I want to be right here helping these people. I want to be right here speaking life into people. I want to be right here just doing whatever I can to help, you know? So definitely enjoy the journey because no matter what season you're in, if you make the most of that time, God will bless you.